You're standing in a crowd of strangers. It's dark, except for firelight. The ground is shaking slightly from how many feet are hitting it at once. Someone next to you who you've never met in your life grabs your arm because the rhythm just hit different. And for 1 second, you are not two strangers anymore. You are the same thing. This is 9000 BC, maybe earlier. There's no DJ booth, no wristband, no $14 vodka soda, just fire, rhythm, and a few hundred people who traveled a long way to be in this exact spot at this exact moment. This is the story of how humans invented clubbing. Not the velvet rope, not bottle service, not the guy who insists you take one more shot even though it's 2 a.m. and you have work tomorrow. We're talking about the very first time humans figured out that gathering in the dark, moving to a beat, and losing yourself in a crowd could change something inside you, and why that discovery might be one of the oldest ideas our species ever had. Because here's the thing nobody tells you. Clubbing doesn't start with nightlife. It doesn't start with disco balls or house music or Ibiza. It might start before farming, before writing, before most of what we call civilization even existed. And the evidence for this is genuinely wild. Let's start with a place called Göbekli Tepe. It's a hilltop in what's now southeastern Turkey, and it's the oldest known monumental structure on the planet, older than Stonehenge by about 6,000 years, older than the pyramids by close to 7,000. It was built around 11,000 years ago by hunter-gatherers who, and this is the part that should stop you for a second, didn't farm yet, didn't have permanent villages yet, didn't have the wheel or writing or metal tools. And yet, somehow, groups of people who normally never crossed paths, different bands spread out over dozens of miles, coordinated well enough to quarry, carve, and haul multi-ton stone pillars up a hill. That takes serious organization. It takes hundreds of people working together for years, which means something had to be pulling all these separate, unrelated groups of humans toward the same hill again and again. Archaeologists think they found what that something was. Buried at the site are massive stone troughs, some able to hold over 150 liters of liquid. When researchers tested the residue inside them, they found chemical traces consistent with fermentation. Beer, actual beer, brewed from wild grain over 11,000 years ago at what might be the world's oldest party venue. Let that sit for a second. This site predates farming, which means the leading theory now is that humans may not have started cultivating grain to make bread first. They may have started growing it to keep the beer coming. Bread might have been the side effect. The party might have been the whole point. But it wasn't just drinking. The site's massive carved pillars are covered with animal figures and stylized human forms, arms raised, bodies caught mid-motion. And the layer of debris archaeologists dug through wasn't just stone dust. It was smashed animal bones by the thousands, evidence of huge feasts, meals clearly built to feed a crowd, not a family. Dancing, drinking, and eating together on a massive scale before humans had even invented the concept of a permanent home. Now, here's where we have to be careful, because evidence of a party and proof they invented clubbing are two very different claims. Let's talk about what the archaeology actually supports. We know feasting happened. We know fermentation happened. What we don't have, because it almost never survives, is direct physical proof of dancing itself. No ancient dance floor, no 11,000-year-old playlist. Organic behavior, movement, sound doesn't fossilize. Stone pillars survive for 11 millennia. A night of people dancing around a fire survives exactly as long as the fire does. So how do we know dancing goes back this far or further? We look at what we can find, and what we can find is oddly specific. At a site called Bhimbetka in central India, archaeologists found rock shelters covered in paintings, some of which researchers date to the Upper Paleolithic, possibly 30,000 years old or more. Among the oldest layers of art, alongside hunting scenes, are human figures shown mid-motion, arranged in ways many archaeologists interpret as some of the earliest visual records of dance anywhere on Earth. And it's not just paintings. If dancing needs music, we should ask, how far back does music go? The answer is uncomfortably far. In a cave in southern Germany called Hohle Fels, archaeologists found a flute carved from a vulture's wing bone, 5 finger holes, a mouthpiece, fully playable. It's been dated to roughly 35,000 to 40,000 years old. It wasn't a fluke either. Multiple flutes have turned up across nearby caves, which tells you this wasn't one weird guy with a hobby. This was a tradition, a well-established musical culture, tens of thousands of years before agriculture, before cities, before almost everything we associate with civilization. So somewhere out there, 40,000 years ago, actual human beings were sitting in caves playing instruments they'd carefully carved and drilled to hit the right notes. Which means somebody was probably moving to it, because that's what humans do. Here's where it gets genuinely fascinating, because this isn't just old behavior, there's real modern science on why it might have mattered so much. Researchers at Oxford, led by a psychologist named Robin Dunbar, ran a series of experiments on group dancing. They found that people who danced in synchrony with each other, matching the same rhythm, the same movement, at the same time, showed a measurable spike in pain tolerance afterwards. That spike is a proxy for something called the endogenous opioid system activating. In plain English, dancing in sync with other people floods your body with endorphins, the same family of chemicals involved in bonding, trust, even physical pain relief. And it gets stranger. In a follow-up study, Dunbar's team gave some participants a drug that blocks endorphins before they danced. Guess what happened? The pain tolerance spike disappeared, the bonding effect weakened. Which means this isn't just a nice feeling people report afterwards. It's a real, measurable chemical process. Moving together, in rhythm with strangers, is one of the fastest ways humans ever found to turn stranger into us. Which reframes everything. A room full of people moving to the same beat isn't just fun. It might be one of the oldest trust-building technologies our species ever developed. Long before language got sophisticated enough to negotiate alliances, before treaties, before anything we'd recognize as diplomacy, groups of early humans may have used exactly this: gather, drink, move together in the dark, and walk away trusting people you'd never met before that night. Think about what that actually solved. Early humans lived in small bands. Small bands can't survive alone forever. You need to trade, intermarry, share resources with other groups during hard seasons. But other groups are also, historically, exactly who you're most likely to fight. So how do you get strangers to trust each other fast enough to cooperate instead of killing each other? You don't talk it out, you dance it out. You get a few hundred people together, you give them fermented grain, you sit them around a fire, and by the end of the night, their brains have chemically decided these people are us instead of them. It's not romantic, it's not spiritual necessarily. It might just be extremely effective, extremely old social engineering. Now, let's fast forward, because the story of the party doesn't stop at Göbekli Tepe. It shows up again and again everywhere humans went. Fermented beverages have turned up in burial sites in the Levant, dating back roughly 13,000 years, even before Göbekli Tepe. Feasting evidence shows up across nearly every early civilization we've dug into. Every time archaeologists find the beginnings of settled human life, they tend to find the beginnings of communal, ritualized partying right alongside it. It wasn't one culture's habit. It wasn't a phase. It looks a lot like one of the oldest, most persistent behaviors our species has. Here's the uncomfortable part of the story, the part that should sound familiar if you paid attention earlier. What started as something closer to social infrastructure, a way to build trust, to bond fractured groups, to survive together, eventually got picked up by an entirely different kind of institution. Somewhere between an 11,000-year-old ritual feast on a hilltop and a Saturday night in a modern club, something got extracted from the experience and monetized. Cover charges, bottle service that costs more than most people's rent, drink prices calibrated not to bring people together, but to maximize what a night can be squeezed for. Music engineered by algorithms to keep you moving, keep you buying, keep you there one song, one more round. A hunter-gatherer 11,000 years ago and a nightclub promoter today are technically doing the basic same thing, gathering people, giving them something that alters their state, putting them in motion together.
Almost nothing else about the intent is the same. So did ancient humans invent clubbing? The honest answer is we can't prove it with a single artifact, the way you can prove a stone tool is a stone tool. What we can say is this: the ingredients of clubbing, fermented drink, rhythmic music, synchronized movement, and crowds of near strangers brought together in the dark show up together again and again, going back at least 11,000 years, and probably much further than we can currently prove. The desire to alter your state alongside other people, to move in time with a beat until the line between you and the crowd gets blurry, might be as old as being human at all. It may be as old as the first flute someone carved from a bird bone in a cave 40,000 years ago and thought, let's see what this sounds like at night with everyone else. So next time you're in a crowd, bass in your chest, moving without really deciding to, a stranger's shoulder against yours, and somehow it feels fine, you're not doing something new. The venue changed, the drink changed, the lighting definitely changed. But the reason it works on you, that's over 10,000 years old. Humans didn't invent clubbing. We just never stopped.